Well, hello there, folks. This is Crystal Joy Johnson of the CJoy Yoga Online Studio and Wellness Channel, and we're going to be doing a little assessment / exercise for the hippies and their range of motion. So it literally just starts on the ground, and I will let you know that you're probably going to want some kind of padding for underneath the legs. Or they might get a little tender. So that could be a blanket, you could be on a carpet, a mat, etc. You can do hardwood floor and go all aggro and Iyengar style, but for me personally, I like to have a little something to cushion. Okay, my hands are behind me, my feet are out in front of me, good deal, right? And they're fairly wide. And then I'm just gonna start to windshield wiper. So we often do this from our backs, right? And you're just gonna notice, you're not forcing the legs into anything, but when you let them go and soften all the muscles around them, just notice where your hips get to. They don't have to look like mine, right? And this is the first part, just checking in and seeing your range of motion when doing this twisting motion. Now, when I twist, I start to slowly move a little forward. I kind of forward, and so I'm going to move my buttocks back just a little bit. Now, the next piece of it is, right, you might go ahead and come up a little closer, and you're going to go back and forth, and you can move into a twist with the legs and bring your hands down. So I'm framing my what would be to you what would look like my left leg going to the left, and then I come through center and I can frame my right knee as I go to the right. Right? If you want a little more core work, you're actually going to try to do that without any arms at all. And again, my body is turning a little bit with, so I'm not forcing my body to stay centered. Right? Now you might add on, again, I like to scoop my butt back so I end up with my knees on my little cushion. You might then, when you get to one side, try to pull up onto your shins and your knees. Work from where you're supposed to work from. This might not be your work today, right? Maybe you're simply windshield wipering, trying to get the range of motion so that at some point in time, maybe in the future, maybe not, you might move towards that stage 2 or this stage 3, right? So do that a few times for yourself. Again, I start to get off of my mat, and so then I'll move myself back just a little bit. Now, the next time that you're over to the right, you're gonna stay there and I'll meet you there. I'm gonna mirror you, right? And when we get over to the right, we're not gonna go up onto the knees, but we're gonna rather bring our legs into 90 and 90, right? 2 90-degree angles. So I have my left knee almost out from my hip joint, my heel out from my knee joint, and the same thing is happening in my right leg as best as I can in my body. You may need to lean back in order to allow the internal rotation, is usually the harder of the two, of the left leg, right? Now I want you to go ahead and I want you to push down into your outer right leg. I should say you might come up a little higher, right? So you can kind of find out where that edge is for you. But you're gonna push the outer right leg down as if it could make it to the ground. It may or may not. And release that. And again, you're gonna push your outer right leg down to the ground, using the muscles of the leg, not the hand to push it today. And then you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna frame the right leg, right? And that left leg is now what we're gonna work with. You're gonna push your inner left knee down, that would be the downside on the padding, right? And you're gonna try to lift that heel up and bring that back down. Now watch what happens in the body. The body wants to compensate and do all kinds of things, right? Can you keep yourself, whatever your position is, pretty still, find the low belly toning, right? Try to keep the pelvis and the spine as neutral as you can as you try to push the knee down and lift the heel. This leg wants to lift so bad to make it happen, right? So I'm trying to get out of all the other bits and pieces as best as I know how and lift my back heel, my left heel. Now one more piece, let's do a little stretch while we're here from this place. You could bring this foot in if you're terribly uncomfortable. You're gonna bring both hands outside the right thigh, right? Pushing gently down into the hands, see if you can pull yourself out, right? I pull that left waist out and elongate. That might feel like plenty for you. Some of my friends, you might drop down to your elbows, and you could even put your hands down and traction the hands back towards the hips, towards the thigh a little bit to pull out. Some of my friends, you'll put your left hand on the ground a little wide out behind you. Push into the left fingertips or palm to rotate the body into a little bit of a twist. They're all wonderful, just depends on the one that feels really groovy to you. I'm going to stay out of the twist, and I'm going to take more of the lengthening of the side waist because that's what my body would like today. And then we're going to come all the way up. We're going to move those legs up and over to the left. And again, take just a second and try to get them into, as best you can, the 90-90 situation, right? That might mean you're leaning back quite a bit to make that happen. That might mean you're sitting up a little higher. First order of business is going to be pushing that outer left leg down to the ground. And just feel how that turns on some of the muscles on the outer hip, right? And soften that. And again, pushing down into the ground, right? And releasing that. And one more time, try not to move anything else as best you can, just trying to isolate, or at least notice what you're moving, right? And soften. And the next piece is we're going to push our inner right knee down to try to lift that right heel up. And my hips and my leg want to do all kinds of things, right? I'll let it happen on the first time, just so I'm like, oh, that's how I made it happen. All these other muscles are trying to make that happen. So I'm going to try and stabilize now, and I'm going to try and pick that heel up. And if I truly stabilize, I can only maybe lift it if even a ½ inch, but that's okay, that's my work, right? So maybe you're 2 feet off the ground, that is so wonderful for you, but this leg is like, nah, but I would rather work smaller and make it look not as pretty, right, or as deep in order to get the muscular work that I really need, so I really actually start to work internal rotation in my hip instead of me compensating with all the other parts of my body. Hopefully that makes sense. I just did it again, gall darn me. And now we're going to turn our body over to the left, and you might just be on palms or fingertips here and lengthen out of that right side waist. You might drop forearms down to the ground. I like to traction my forearms back towards me to keep that length going on. Some of my friends, right fingertips kind of back and over to the right to help you move a little further into a twist. Again, my body is asking for the side body length more than it's asking for the twist today, so that's where I'm personally going to stay. And take another breath wherever you are. And come on up. Let those legs come out in front of you. However is comfortable. You could sit up on something. We won't be here for long. But just kind of, pardon me, tune into those hip joints, all sides of them. We worked through most of the range of motion and through the motions of the hip joints. So hopefully we feel like we got not only a little bit of space in there, but maybe some stabilization as well. Yeah? Namaste.